I always like hearing especially some of the early proponents of, or people discussing a ketogenic diet that weren't scientists, or mainly more influencers, or physical trainers, personal trainers, and they would talk about these things, and they'd sort of look at the studies and maybe not quite get them, like mispronounce big words, which is always great.
Yeah.
And then talk about how ketosis is like, well, you're tricking your body into thinking it's starving to death, and you get the benefits of starving to death. It's like, wow, okay, so it's like apparently there's the benefit of starving to death,
Yeah, it's so moronic.
Yes, it's so funny. Like, I remember hearing it from one guy, and I was just like, and I got so upset. I was just like, you tell me one benefit of starving to death, except you're now dead, and I don't have to listen to this stupid crap anymore. But they talk about tricking your body into thinking it's starving to death. It's like, I'm sorry,
which is silly. Yeah. In fact, Anthony, if you'll allow me to riff for a second, the irony is that if you're producing ketones, you're not starving. So the difference between fasting and starvation is, have you run out of fat? And then the moment you run out of fat on your body, now you can't make ketones to feed the brain, because when you're fasting, the brain is producing ketones are providing about 70% of all of the brain's energy. And so its glucose need is very, very low, which is good. Because if you're not eating anything, you're going to, especially carbs, well, then it's nice that the brain's glucose demand has gone down. Once you start running out of fat, your production of ketones plummet. And now the brain can't get any ketones and has now become totally dependent on glucose. And guess who has to start paying that? Well, it's muscle. And so now you start stripping the amino acids from the muscle in order to make all of this glucose for the brain to eat. So the irony is, they say, well, ketones, it's like you're tricking your body into starvation. In fact, ironically, having ketones means you're not in starvation. You're fasting. That's the difference between a fast and starvation. Do you have enough fat to make ketones to fuel the brain? Then it's a fast. Even if it's a 380-day fast, like that fellow did in Scotland or Ireland or Wales, I think it was Wales, actually, a documented fast of over a year. He, of course, was morbidly obese. It was under medical supervision with water, minerals, vitamins, etc. But the fact that he kept making ketones meant he didn't lose any muscle. And indeed, he didn't, because you don't cut muscle unless you're starving. And starvation happens when you run out of fat and you can't make ketones.
Right.
So that's the irony. So